Hello and good evening. Well, the nationwide vaccination drive is being stepped up and intensified to counter what is increasingly being seen as a second wave of rising COVID infections in the country. We'll get you all the updates in Newsnight tonight. What is happening on fighting COVID in the country? I'm Gautam Roy. We'll also be talking with our guest and team of reporters about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's landmark two-day visit to Bangladesh starting tomorrow, that is on Friday. But first, our headlines. Prime Minister Modi will leave for a historic two-day Bangladesh visit on Friday morning. It's expected to write a new chapter in bilateral ties after completion of 50 years of diplomatic relations. The PM says the countries have deep cultural, linguistic and mutual relations on the eve of his departure. The PM will hold bilateral talks with his Bangladesh counterpart Sheikh Hasina during his visit, leading to key agreements being inked. Apart from paying homage to the National Martyrs Memorial, the PM will also pay floral tributes at the last resting place of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Campaigning din falls silent ahead of the first phase of polling in Assam and West Bengal. The last day of canvassing sees top leaders drumming up support for their party's candidates. Saturday will see polling take place for 30 West Bengal and 47 Assam seats. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister K. Palanisamy holds a roadshow in Madurai. Campaigning also intensifies in Kerala and Puducherry. Parliament adjourned sine die, 114% productivity seen in the Lok Sabha and 90% in the Rajya Sabha during the budget session. 18 bills passed in both houses of Parliament, including the Union Budget. Session ended early in view of the assembly elections in 5 states and Union Territory of Puducherry. Vaccination drive intensified nationwide in view of rising wave of fresh COVID infections. Over 53 million people inoculated so far. Fresh daily cases keep rising in Maharashtra, Punjab, Kerala, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh and Gujarat. These states are contributing over 80% of the daily fresh cases in the country. Tension escalates in the Korean peninsula after North Korea's launch of at least 2 projectiles suspected to be ballistic missiles on Thursday. South Korea expresses deep concern. Japanese Prime Minister says the launches pose a threat to the security and peace in the region. Beginning a 4-month countdown to the Summer Games in Tokyo, torch relay for the delayed Tokyo Olympics begins. Starting from the site of the 2011 quake and tsunami, Fukushima, about 10,000 runners will carry the torch across Japan's 47 prefectures and far-flung islands in a 121-day journey. And the second one-day clash between India and England is set to take place on Friday. Team India is led by Virat Kohli and they'll do their utmost to win the match and build an unassailable lead in the 3-encounter series. England too, unlike to spare any effort to level the series as well. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to embark on his first ever foreign visit since the COVID pandemic broke out last year. He'll be in Bangladesh on Friday and Saturday, where he will not only hold bilateral talks with his counterpart Sheikh Hasina, he will also be taking part in 3 landmark or epical celebrations and events: the 100th birth anniversary celebrations of Father of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, 50 years of Bangladesh's War of Liberation and 50 years of India-Bangladesh diplomatic ties as well. And we'll keep you updated on every step of the way as well with our team of reporters there, and every update will be right here on DD News and DD India.
Friendship when Prime Ministers of the 2 neighbouring countries meet on Friday. The vibrancy of this friendship is not only deep, it is also multi-hued. The visit, marking 50 years of establishment of diplomatic relations between India and Bangladesh, will mark the start of another golden chapter in the friendship between the 2 nations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Bangladesh on Friday and Saturday at the invitation of Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. This trip is PM's first visit to any foreign country ever since the pandemic broke out and reflects upon the importance of the India-Bangladesh relationship.
The relationship has always been of extremely high priority for India. It is in fact one of our most prized and most important relationships. So from that standpoint, it is a particular pleasure to be able to say that India-Bangladesh ties are at their highest ever level since the 1970s. We can see this in the way in which there is complete political consensus in India of the importance of Bangladesh, the importance of a strong relationship with Bangladesh, and the importance of developing this relationship further.
On March 26th, Prime Minister will visit the National Martyrs Memorial to pay homage to those who laid their lives for liberation of Bangladesh 50 years ago. Thereafter, Prime Minister will attend the National Day program of Bangladesh as guest of honor. 2021 is also celebrated a centenary birth anniversary year of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Another epochal event being celebrated at the same time is 50 years of Bangladesh's liberation. Events are also being held to mark the golden jubilee of India-Bangladesh diplomatic ties. Friday will also see Prime Minister Modi jointly inaugurating the Bangabandhu Bapu Museum with his Bangladesh counterpart. He will also take part in several cultural programs. Saturday will see Prime Minister visiting Jeshwareshwari Kali Temple. He will pay respects to the last resting place of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Prime Minister Modi will also plant a sapling there and put his thoughts in visitors' book. His next stop will be Orakandi, where he will pray at the temple of Matua community. Prime Minister will also call on Bangladesh's President Mohammad Abdul Hamid during his visit. He will hold bilateral talks with Bangladesh counterpart Sheikh Hasina. Several agreements are expected to be signed between the two countries following the talks. Areas covered are likely to be disaster management, trade, cultural cooperation, health, railways and others. It was 2019 that Bangladesh's Prime Minister had visited India. Several agreements were inked between the two neighbors during the visit, apart from the start of 3 key projects including natural gas. Relations between the two nations have been particularly good in recent years. MEA has termed them as golden era of bilateral relations.
Bangladesh is at the intersection of our neighborhood first and Act East policies. Today it is our largest development partner, our largest trade partner in the region, and is also the location of our largest visa operation in the world, probably the largest anywhere in the world. Despite the pandemic, both sides have been able to maintain a steady momentum in our ties. We have also been able to make progress on a number of other significant areas. Our partnership in combating COVID-19, including the rollout of vaccines, our development partnership, enhancing connectivity, and increased cultural contacts.
COVID times have also seen the two countries cooperate closely in responding to the common challenge. India has even supplied vaccines to Bangladesh. Recent times saw completion of Maitri Setu between the two nations that connects Tripura to Dhaka. It will be key to economic and cultural exchanges between the two neighbors in the coming years. India has always followed the neighborhood first policy and has deep cultural and emotional ties with Bangladesh. This visit is a big step in taking them forward. Clearly, Prime Minister's visit will bring new energy and vigor to this special relationship. With Ramesh Ramachandran, Rajesh Kumar Jha in Dhaka, Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, needless to say, Bangladesh is all set to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi, especially the people of the Matua community in Orakandi. A sacred shrine of the Matua community in Orakandi is an important destination in Prime Minister Modi's 2-day visit to Bangladesh. The PM will also address a public rally there. More in this report.
During his 2-day visit to Bangladesh, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit a few prominent temples in the neighbouring country amid his tight schedule. One such temple of the Matua community members is in Orakandi. Matua community members count this temple as one of their biggest faith centres. The founder of the Matua community, Hari Chand Thakur, was born in Orakandi. Just as Ayodhya is associated with Lord Ram and Mathura with Sri Krishna, the same way is Thakur Nagar in Orakandi associated with the Matua community.
Harichand Thakur came at night time and under the tree described his vision to Guruchand Thakur and his younger son about the presence of a temple here, where the idol of Lord Lakshmi Narayan was placed. And devotees are offering prayers here. Later, as per his description, a temple was built at the same location.
Orakandi, a sacred shrine of the Matua community in Gopalganj, is an important destination in Prime Minister's two-day visit to Bangladesh beginning on Friday. The Prime Minister will pay his respects at the Guru Harichand Thakur's shrine. Prime Minister Modi will also interact with the members of the Matua community and address a public meeting there. The Matua community was founded by Guru Harichand Thakur in the early 19th century. Members of the sect included the Namashudras, who were considered untouchables. The objective of Thakur's reform was to uplift the community through educational and other social initiatives.
Harichand Thakur is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, Lord Rama and Lord Krishna. Harichand Thakur came to preach name of the Lord. The objective was to inculcate harmony among people.
Matuas traced their ancestry to Bangladesh, and a large chunk of the community moved into West Bengal following the creation of Bangladesh. It was Guru Harichand Thakur who helped Matuas rehabilitate in India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also visit Jashoreshwari Kali Mandir during his two-day visit to Bangladesh. The temple is one of the 51 Shakti Peeths, as per the Hindu mythology, scattered across India and neighbouring countries, with 6 being in Bangladesh.
This is from in Satyayug, and the Lord Honorary was built this mandir in ancient age.
In 2015, Prime Minister Modi had visited temples, including the Ma Kali temple at Dakshineshwar. Prime Minister Modi had also visited the Ramakrishna Mutt during that trip. In a world stricken by the grief of COVID-19, Prime Minister's visit to Bangladesh comes as his first overseas visit since the pandemic began. Not only will this visit strengthen Indo-Bangladesh friendship, but it will also add new dimensions to it. With Ramesh Ramachandran in Dhaka, Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, apart from sharing historical, cultural, linguistic bonds, what also uniquely unites India and Bangladesh is the shared heritage of the Liberation War. Prime Minister Modi's visit is taking place at a time when Bangladesh is celebrating the centenary birth anniversary of its founder Sheikh Mujibur Rahman as Mujib Bosho. The PM will also pay homage to Bangabandhu at his last resting place during his visit.
Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who is known as Bangabandhu in Bangladesh, was not only the founder of Bangladesh but also the first president of Bangladesh. He is also known as the father of the nation in Bangladesh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Bangladesh is taking place at a time when Mujib Bosho, or the birth centenary of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, is being celebrated. Prime Minister will pay tribute to Sheikh Mujibur Rahman on the occasion of his birth centenary and will also attend some other programs. Tungipara will be an important destination for Prime Minister's visit. He will visit Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's mausoleum to pay floral tributes. People are eagerly waiting to welcome Prime Minister there.
We have always found a good friend in India. India's contribution in our liberation war has been exemplary, and nowhere in the world can you find such an example. Thus, we, the people of Bangladesh, wholeheartedly welcome Indians here.
তাই আমরা বাংলাদেশের মানুষ আমরা ভারতবাসীকে অভিনন্দন জানাচ্ছি।
It was Bangabandhu who led the war of liberation against Pakistan, and later on Bangladesh was created. Later, Bangabandhu became the first president of the country. India attaches great importance to Bangladesh. Recently, India had conferred the Gandhi Peace Prize for the year 2020 on Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. With inputs from Neeraj Singh, Ramesh Ramachandran's report, DD India.
And ahead of his historic visit to Bangladesh, Prime Minister Modi has said that Bangabandhu was one of the tallest leaders of the last century, whose life and ideals continue to inspire millions. In his departure statement, the Prime Minister said, and I quote, "I am happy that my first foreign visit after the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic will be to our friendly neighbouring country, with which India shares deep cultural, linguistic and people-to-people ties. I look forward to my participation at the National Day celebrations tomorrow, which is Friday, which will also commemorate the birth centenary of the father of the nation of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Bangabandhu was one of the tallest leaders of the last century, whose life and ideals continue to inspire millions. I look forward to visiting Bangabandhu's Samadhi in Tungipara to pay my respects to his memory. I also look forward to offering prayers to Goddess Kali at the ancient Jashareshwari Kali temple, one of the 15 Shakti Peeths in the Puranic tradition. I am particularly looking forward to my interaction with representatives of the Matua community at Urakandi, from where Sri Harish Chandra Thakurji disseminated his pious message. I will be having substantive discussions with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina following a very productive virtual meeting in December last year. I also look forward to my meeting with His Excellency President Abdul Hamid and to interactions with other Bangladeshi dignitaries. My visit will not only be an occasion to convey appreciation for Bangladesh's remarkable economic and developmental strides under Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's visionary leadership, but also to commit India's abiding support for these achievements. I will also express India's support and solidarity for Bangladesh's fight against COVID-19. And now it's time to get in our correspondent there in Dhaka, Ramesh Ramachandran, along with our guest G. Parthasarthi as well-known former diplomat. But before that, our In Focus tonight, India-Bangladesh united by shared heritage. And let me first now turn to Ramesh Ramachandran. Ramesh, just tell us, it is of course a political event that is taking place already, unfolding in Bangladesh, but just tell us how is Dhaka and the country really decked up to receive Prime Minister Modi, to welcome him, and in fact let me bring in G. Parthasarthi at this stage. I believe the link with Ramesh is yet to be clearly established. Mr. Parthasarthi, what do you make of the prospects of ties between India and Bangladesh at this juncture where we're celebrating 50 years of diplomatic ties? It's of course the golden jubilee of the War of Liberation of Bangladesh as well, and Mujib Borsho in any case is being celebrated, and Prime Minister is part of all these celebrations.
Well, let's look at it this way. This is a very special relationship. Mind you, when Bangladesh was under Pakistani occupation, it was impoverished, there was no development, and it was dominated by West Pakistanis. Today, Bangladesh has a higher per capita income than Pakistan. That is the extent of transformation, particularly in the last 10 years, thanks to Sheikh Hasina, that they have achieved. They have a sense of pride amongst the leading exporters of finished textile products. And in some of these products, they are second in the world only to China. So here is a country which has done well, which has taken a lot of interest in women's education, something which was missing when it was a part of Pakistan.
Okay.
And more importantly, has a sense of pride in what it has achieved. And above all, it's built up its cricket team, which is something which they have always cherished. They've even beaten us once in the World Cup. So I think this is important to them, this relationship. We have no territorial ambitions, and the amount of economic credits that we've extended to them for projects, I think it is second to none in the world. It is a special country. It has problems with Myanmar on the Rohingya refugees. We are trying to help in getting that sorted out. It is a difficult problem, but nevertheless, we are doing our best. So here is a country which we've settled our borders. You know, there was one island which was in our possession, but then when the Bangladeshis wanted it, said it was theirs, we went to the Law of the Seas Arbitration Tribunal. They won the case and we handed over the island to them.
Yes.
So it's a really friendly relationship. Yes, there are extremist elements everywhere, but I think what we can take pride at is here is a country in whose liberation struggle we participated in our own way, and which is doing so well. I mean, the economic transformation is remarkable.
Certainly, we have indeed done that, and that is why we look forward to this partnership that has been developing in between India and Bangladesh. And let me bring in Ramesh now. Ramesh, I was trying to ask you, how is really Dhaka and Bangladesh decked up to welcome Prime Minister Modi tomorrow, because already it's been quite a celebration in Bangladesh with these three events coming together.
Well, I don't know if Gautam, if you can hear me, but
I can,
this visit of Prime Minister is going to be high on symbolism and substance alike. And this is his first overseas visit in over a year because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and his first in the new calendar year. And remember, both Prime Ministers, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Hasina, have met in December already, but in a virtual mode, and this would be their second meeting in about 4 months. And it is a historic year, a momentous occasion for Bangladesh, in the sense, as our report mentioned, Bangladesh is celebrating its golden jubilee of independence this year. Bangladesh is celebrating the centenary of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and also this year marks the 50th anniversary of Bangladesh-India diplomatic relations as well. So it's a historic trifecta of sorts. And in a pre-departure statement released just over an hour ago, the Prime Minister says, and I'm quoting him here, he says, "I'm happy that my first foreign visit after the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic will be to our friendly neighboring country, with which India shares deep cultural, linguistic and people-to-people ties." And he goes on to conclude by saying that he looks forward to his talks with Prime Minister Hasina, and I'm quoting him here again. He says, "My visit will not only be an occasion to convey appreciation for Bangladesh's remarkable economic and developmental strides under Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and her visionary leadership, but also to commit India's abiding support for these achievements." So all in all, on balance, a much anticipated visit here for 2 days, next 2 days, in which Prime Minister Modi will travel not only inside and within Dhaka, but also outside Dhaka to interact with the Motua community and also visit temples in the neighboring areas, and also to become the first leader, a rare visit to the ancestral home or village of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in Tongipara.
Yes, certainly very special this visit, this 2-day visit. But just tell me, G. Parthasarathi, is it just a happy coincidence that these events were coming around and Prime Minister Modi decided that now is the time to, get out of the country and visit a neighbor, a key neighbor? Or are we to infer that, the talks that will take place between Sheikh Hasina and him and the agreements, these were also some of the things that required a sense of urgency to make a proper visit, in-person visit there?
No, I think this visit is high on both symbolism and substance. Symbolism, 50th anniversary of a liberation struggle in which we were proud to get welcomed. Our participation was welcomed by the people of Bangladesh. And I remember Sheikh Saab was then in jail in Pakistan, her father. So we worked very hard and secured his release. And the first place he came to was India. So in a way, it is a family relationship which is of theirs, which has a high degree of emotionalism for what has historically happened between the two countries. Because this was really history being made. A country with its own distinct culture, its own distinct language, which was finding its culture and language suppressed by minority West Pakistanis, now free to exercise all these freedoms. And I said, you have to bear this in mind, one of those few Islamic countries where women's education and women's rights are given such privileges, and it's best symbolized by a lady Prime Minister who's been there for a decade now.
Certainly, and Ramesh, in terms of the progress that the ties have been making as well between India and Bangladesh, that has seen a lot of progress and gaining of momentum as well, particularly since both these Prime Ministers came to the fore. But I'll ask you about it later. Just comment about this as well, G. Parthasarathi. The progress in recent years, how is that adding further impetus to growing India and Bangladesh ties?
You see, what is happening is the connectivity projects are increasing. Also, we are being very open in providing facilities for Bangladesh to be a transit port for goods from Bhutan and Nepal. And, we're trying our best to see their problems with Myanmar on the refugee issue get sorted out. We have even been willing to contribute towards building houses for rehabilitation of their refugees. And we've been working very closely with Japan on this. So there is this appreciation that we have no demands on them. There are no territorial demands. And most importantly, not too long ago, we finally settled a very difficult problem, which is a problem, a territorial problem of enclaves, in the sense that there were enclaves we had inside their territory and vice versa. And that was very amicably sorted out by real statesmanship. It was not an easy problem to sort out historically, because these were historical enclaves in each other's territory. So yes, I think we've been good to each other. It's a relationship of equals, and they have shown respect for our security concerns whenever the need has arisen. So it is only appropriate, I think, and it required the diplomatic skills of the Prime Minister to make this, symbolic, because very few world leaders are visiting each other.
Yes.
And in South Asia, Bangladesh has a special place in our hearts. The Prime Minister has demonstrated that.
Certainly. Ramesh, if I could bring you in terms of what we can expect through the bilateral meet as well, how will that take forward all that India has already achieved along with Bangladesh in, the furtherance of ties, particularly in recent years?
Well, Gautam, when the two principals meet, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Hasina, they can be expected to discuss the entire range, the entire gamut of bilateral ties, including trade, investment, people-to-people ties, cultural issues, and of course connectivity. And connectivity has been a recurrent theme in India-Bangladesh relations in the last several months and years especially. And most recently we saw India and Bangladesh take the initiative to talk in terms of improving or boosting or ramping up connectivity between the two countries. And we saw Prime Minister Modi himself inaugurate the Moitri Bridge, or the Friendship Bridge, linking India's northeast with Bangladesh. Remember, India's Act East policy is actually anchored not only in northeast but also in Bangladesh.
Yes.
And it plays a crucial role in India's neighborhood first policy as well. And when the talks take place on the 27th evening here in Dhaka, Gautam, they can be expected to sign a couple of MOUs, including possibly on economic partnership agreement as well. So many issues on the table, but they are not revealing or disclosing the details just yet. But indications are that a number of MOUs could be signed towards the end of the talk between the two prime ministers here in Dhaka come the 27th evening.
Well, certainly, and the kind of cooperation that India has already had with Bangladesh, Sati, in terms of combating COVID-19, that could also see some furtherance, along with what we're hearing is disaster management.
Well, disaster management is essential primarily because Bangladesh is prone to getting hit by cyclones.
Yes.
And when they're hit by cyclones, they're hit very hard. And therefore, disaster management is a prime need. And the aircraft and other facilities which they need are invariably provided by us. So, but as I said, coming back, BIMSTEC I think is very important. It's time we built on it, because it's not just South Asia. You have two Southeast Asian countries in Myanmar and Thailand. And it's a good place to bring together Myanmar and Bangladesh. And as I said, we've even had, we could never do one thing in SAARC, which is to get the militaries together. And the military chiefs of all these countries on our east have met in Pune. They were all welcomed by our then army chief, and I attended that meeting, which went off very well.
Okay, great. So we can expect further progress come tomorrow and day after as well during Prime Minister Modi's landmark visit, historic visit to Bangladesh. We will look forward to hearing all the updates from you, Ramesh, at that end. Thanks a lot for joining us this evening, and thank you so much for joining us as well, G. Parthasarathy. Okay, now moving on, Parliament was adjourned sine die on Thursday ahead of the budget session schedule in view of the assembly elections in 4 states and in Puducherry. 19 bills were passed in the Rajya Sabha during the session and 18 in the Lok Sabha, including the union budget, despite several stormy exchanges between the Treasury and opposition benches over several issues. Take a look.
The budget session of Parliament came to an end on Thursday with both the houses adjourned sine die ahead of their schedule. The productivity of Lok Sabha during the session stood at 114%, while Rajya Sabha achieved 90% of the productivity. In the first session of the budget, the President addressed the joint session of both the houses and the general budget was presented on 1st February. In the second session, important legislative works were carried out. A total of 19 bills were passed in Rajya Sabha, while 18 bills went through Lok Sabha. Important bills passed in Parliament includes Arbitration and Conciliation Amendment Bill 2021, Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill, Constitution Schedule Caste Order Amendment Bill 2021, Insurance Amendment Bill 2021, National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Bill 2021, Marine Aids to Navigation Bill 2021, National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development Bill 2021, Finance Bill 2021, Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Amendment Bill 2021, Major Port Authorities Bill 2020, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Amendment Bill 2020.
Barring few hours, the total function of the house, both the houses, were quite good. There was discussion, there was debate, and this is the spirit of democracy. I thank the even both ruling as well as opposition bench also.
The Rajya Sabha on Thursday passed the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development Bill 2021. The bill seeks to fund infrastructure projects in the country, with Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman asserting that its audited accounts will be placed before both the houses of every year and they will have oversight of the institution.
Permanent arrangement mentioned in my budget, a permanent arrangement of an SPV facility is considered for providing liquidity so that they can act as the buyer of the last resort during stress times and to some extent even acting as a market maker during times of peace.
The Lok Sabha on last day of the session discussed many important issues. Replying to a question in lower house, Road and Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari said that government is taking several steps to provide smart transportation and reduce pollution. He said government is focusing on alternate fuel to address the pollution issue.
मुझे बताते हुए खुशी हो रही है कि अब 81% लिथियम आयन बैटरी देश में बन रही है और 2 साल के अंदर हमारी इलेक्ट्रिक बाइक, इलेक्ट्रिक 4-व्हीलर और डीजल की बस, इसकी कीमत इक्विवेलेंट टू इलेक्ट्रिक के समान दोनों एक होगी, इतना रेट कम हो जाएगा.
The budget session witnessed heated exchange between opposition and Treasury bench at many occasions. Now all eyes are on the monsoon session of the Parliament as the minister assured that the session will start at its scheduled time. Parliament team, Did India.
Now, campaigning wrapped up for the first phase of polling in Assam and West Bengal today. 30 seats are going to the hustings in West Bengal and 47 in Assam on Saturday. Top leaders, including Prime Minister Modi, did their utmost to convince voters to back their candidates not only in Assam and West Bengal, but also in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry.
Campaigning came to an end on Thursday evening for the first phase of assembly elections to be held for 30 seats in West Bengal and 47 seats in Assam on Saturday. On the last day of the campaigning, the leaders of various political parties appealed to the people to vote in their party favor. Prime Minister Narendra Modi shared 2 videos from his Twitter handle and appealed to the people of Assam and West Bengal to vote in favor of the BJP. He said that the people want BJP in West Bengal, He said that the BJP has assured a rule of law and people-centric government in West Bengal. In the second video, the Prime Minister said the people have terrible memories of corruption and violence during the Congress rule in Assam. The NDA's effort to promote connectivity and infrastructure are receiving huge support. Union Home Minister Amit Shah held multiple rallies in various parts of West Bengal, including Tumluk, Gopi Ballapur and Purulia of East Midnapur. He appealed to the people to vote in favor of BJP. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath also held public meetings seeking votes for BJP candidates. In Kerala, political slugfest continued. Information and Broadcasting Minister and BJP leader Prakash Javadekar accused Congress and the left of complicity.
देश देखता है कांग्रेस और कम्युनिस्ट साथ में है, लोकसभा में भी, केरल विधानसभा में भी बहुत मुद्दों पर। बंगाल में वो दोनों साथी दल करके लड़ रहे हैं, लेकिन केरल में वो एक दूसरे के खिलाफ है। ये पाखंड है, ये छद्म युद्ध है।
In Tamil Nadu, Chief Minister Palaniswamy held a roadshow in Madurai and Melur. DMK youth leader Udayanidhi Stalin campaigned in Ottapidaram and DMK chief MK Stalin campaigned in Thiruvannamalai. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, Union Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank held a virtual meeting with Director General of UNESCO Audrey Azoulay in New Delhi. They discussed key issues of mutual importance, including national education policy, India's response to COVID pandemic, especially in the education sector, among others concerning India-UNESCO cooperation. Secretary Higher Education Amit Khare and delegation from UNESCO and senior officials of the ministry were also present in the meeting. The Education Minister emphasized that year 2020 will be remembered for National Education Policy 2020 of the Government of India.
मुझे इस बात को लेकर के संतोष है कि जहां यूनेस्को ने भारत की नई शिक्षा नीति 2020 की प्रशंसा की है, उसको एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण नीति माना है देश के लिए और दुनिया के लिए। वहीं कोविड काल में हिंदुस्तान में जिस तरीके से काम किया गया और ऑनलाइन पर बच्चों को शिक्षा दी गई, कोरोना काल में पूरी दुनिया गहरे संकट से गुजर रही थी, लोग घरों में कैद हो गए थे। ऐसे वक्त पर घरों को ही स्कूल में तब्दील करके बच्चे का वर्ष बर्बाद नहीं होने दिया, इस बात को लेकर के यूनेस्को बहुत उत्साहित है।
And it's time now to get you some more national updates.
The CBI on Thursday conducted searches at more than 100 places across India in connection with more than 30 cases of bank fraud amounting to over Rs 3,700 crore. These searches are part of special drive to book the fraudsters on the complaint received from different nationalized banks in India. The complainant banks include Indian Overseas Bank, Union Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, Punjab National Bank, State Bank of India, IDBI, Canara Bank, Indian Bank and Central Bank of India. Suspended Mumbai police officer Sachin Vaze's NIA custody has been extended till 3rd April. He was arrested by the NIA earlier this month. During the hearing, Vaze told the Supreme Court that he had nothing to do with the Mansukh Hiren case. He submitted that he was the investigating officer in the Antilia bomb scare case for just a day and a half and did whatever he could in his capacity. Additional Solicitor General Anil Singh, appearing for the NIA, said that the Antilia bomb scare case is one of the most heinous crimes as a police officer is found to be involved in placing explosives. Former Mumbai Police Commissioner Parambir Singh filed a petition in Bombay High Court challenging his transfer from the top post. The former commissioner has also sought a CBI inquiry against Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh into alleged corrupt malpractices. Singh was moved out as Mumbai Police Commissioner in wake of the Antilia bomb scare case and had challenged the state government's order to transfer him from the top post. RBI Governor Shaktikant Das, while addressing the Indian Economic Conclave, has said that maintaining the health of the banking sector remains a policy priority. The governor urged the banks and NBFCs to enhance their skill set to identify risk early, measure them, mitigate the risk proactively, and build up adequate provisioning buffers to absorb potential losses. Senior DMK leader and Tamil Nadu candidate E.V. Velu was searched by income tax officials on Thursday. Income tax officials said the searches were based on credible inputs of cash movement during the campaign. Searches took place at over 10 locations, including E.V. Velu's home, his constituency. The 70-year-old is seeking re-election from the constituency.
Now, the surge in daily new cases keeps touching new heights in the country. The situation in 6 states, that's Maharashtra, Punjab, Kerala, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh and Gujarat, remains worrying. The nationwide vaccination drive is being stepped up in response. Over 53 million people have been immunized so far. More than 5.46 crore COVID vaccine doses have been administered.
In view of the recent surge in COVID-19 cases, efforts are underway to speed up the vaccination drive. To assist people for vaccination, BJP has set up a help desk at All Indian Institute of Medical Sciences, AIIMS, Delhi, providing support to people to get easy access to the centre. Such help desk will be set up at all vaccination centres across the country. BJP National President JP Nadda went to AIIMS to take stock of it.
हमारे पार्टी के सभी कार्यकर्ता गवर्नमेंट इंस्टीट्यूशंस में लोगों को सहायता पहुंचा रहे हैं, हेल्प डेस्क खोल करके, हेल्प सेंटर्स खोल करके, ताकि वहां पर हम लोगों को सुविधा अनुसार पहुंचा सकें. आज मैं उसी को विजिट करने आया था.
World's largest vaccination drive is going on smoothly due to relentless efforts by the government across the country. Now, COVID does not schedule your second dose vaccination appointment automatically. The beneficiaries should schedule it themselves as per the recommended gap between the 2 doses of the vaccine. On country's fight against COVID-19, 6 states, Maharashtra, Punjab, Kerala, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh and Gujarat are reporting a surge in daily new cases. They together account for 80.63% of the new cases reported in the last 24 hours. Maharashtra continues to report the daily new cases at 31,855. Due to increasing cases of COVID-19 in Nagpur, people are facing a lot of problems.
महाराष्ट्र में सबसे ज़्यादा केसेस हो रहे हैं, महाराष्ट्र में सबसे ज़्यादा टेस्टिंग भी हो रही है. हमारी तरफ से पूरी कोशिश है कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा पेशेंट्स तक का हम पहुंच पाए और कोई नंबर्स हम छुपाने की कोशिश नहीं कर रहे हैं.
3 states, Maharashtra, Kerala and Punjab account for 74.32% of total active cases in the country. Punjab's Ludhiana is also witnessing an increase in the number of corona patients.
जो वेव है लुधियाना में पूरी पीक पे चल रही है और अभी दिन पे दिन इसमें बढ़ोतरी हो रही है. बहुत ही गंभीर खतरा लुधियाना के ऊपर और सारे ही इंडिया के ऊपर कह सकते हैं बना हुआ है. लोगों को बहुत ही एहतियात रखने की ज़रूरत है.
Passengers arriving from any state to Bengaluru must be in possession of RT-PCR negative report, said Health and Medical Education Minister Dr. K. Sudhakar. He was speaking to the media here on Thursday after a meeting to review COVID-19 containment measures in Bengaluru city. Meanwhile, the Karnataka government has made it mandatory for all passengers from any state to Bengaluru to be in possession of RT-PCR negative report. The national recovery rate stands at 95.28%. 251 deaths were reported in the last 24 hours, whereas 53,476 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours. Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's now get you some updates from the Dandi Yatra, which has a special significance in India's freedom struggle. So we're flipping through the pages of history now, and we need to remember how the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, 13 days into the Dandi March, left for Samol on the 14th day. Travelling a distance of about 20 kilometers, Gandhi ji, along with fellow Padyatris, walked from village to village and reached Darol in the evening to spend the night in a room that was made for labourers working in the cotton ginning processing mill.
It was in the evening of 25th March in 1930 that Gandhiji had arrived in Darol from Samne. The room where Gandhiji spent the night still has the marks of his footsteps ingrained there. Gandhiji had a simple dinner that day, having only fruits. During the night, Gandhiji had explained to the mill workers the significance of the Dandi March.
गांधी जी जब दांडी यात्रा पे निकले थे तो वो हमारे गांव में रात रुके थे और ये जो जिनिंग एंड प्रेसिंग सोसाइटी त्रालसामद है इसके लेबर क्वार्टर में गांधी जी रुके थे और गांधी जी ने गांव में से बकरी मंगाई और बकरी का दूध पिया और फिर फलाहार किया।
91 years on, everyone who is treading the path of Gandhiji's Dandi Yatra is filled with patriotic fervour. 62-year-old Piyush Ramachandra Shah, a resident of Ahmedabad, also feels great pride in undertaking this Padyatra from Sabarmati to Derol.
रियली मेरे लिए बहुत बड़ी चैलेंज है कि मैं रनिंग के सिवा वॉकिंग करके ये यात्रा इन लोगों के साथ करूं और मैं करीबन 70% तो सक्सेस हूं। चैलेंज है मेरे लिए और मैं अच्छा जा रहा हूं, ये सब लोग अच्छे जा रहे हैं और कोई भी अभी तक इंजर नहीं हुआ है, कोई भी एक्सीडेंट नहीं हुआ है, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुआ है, कोई व्यक्ति हम 81 में कोई मानस अभी कोई इंजरी में नहीं है, वो बहुत अच्छा है।
It is very heartening to see that people from different regions, religions and caste are all participating in this Padyatra.
गांधी की यात्रा जो गांव-गांव तक चलती थी उसके पीछे संदेश समुत्कर्ष था कि हर भारत के छोटे-छोटे गांव से आए हुए लोग, हर विभिन्न प्रजातियों के लोग, हर वर्ग के लोग का उत्थान हो, सबका विकास हो, तब भारत का विकास होगा। गांधी जी ने कहा था कि असली भारत गांव में बसता है। हर गांव, हर गली, हर मोहल्ले में ज्ञाति, जाति, मत, पंथ, संप्रदाय सबसे ऊपर उठकर लोग हमारा स्वागत कर रहे हैं। वंदे मातरम, भारत माता की जय बोल के हमें लोग हमारा अभिवादन कर रहे हैं। बड़ा ही उम्दा अनुभव, मानो हम एक लघु भारत देख रहे हैं और पूरा भारत हमारे साथ यात्रा में चल रहा है, ऐसा अनुभव हमारा हो रहा है।
The symbolic Dandi March that the Prime Minister flagged on 12th of March this year is a great reminder for the new generation of the immense sacrifices given by our founding fathers for our independence. Bureau Report, DD India.
It's time now for some top international news. Well, tension is high from the Korean Peninsula to Washington, D.C., with North Korea launching at least two projectiles suspected to be ballistic missiles on Thursday. It closely follows a pared-down US-South Korean military exercise, but is still being considered a provocation for the relatively still new Joe Biden administration in the White House. For one, Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga has said he will thoroughly discuss the North Korean issue when he meets Biden next month.
Tension escalated in the Korean Peninsula after North Korea launched at least two projectiles suspected to be ballistic missiles on Thursday, officials in South Korea, Japan and the United States said. Japan's Coast Guard said the first missile was detected soon after 7 a.m. and flew about 420 kilometers, followed by a second 20 minutes later that flew about 430 kilometers, indicating the missiles were a short-range weapon. Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga said that North Korea fired two ballistic missiles which fell outside the Japanese exclusive economic zone. Suga added that the launches posed a threat to the security and peace in the region.
It is a threat to our country and to the regional security. It is also a violation of the United Nations Security Council resolution. We will strictly protest and condemn their action.
Suga also said that he would thoroughly discuss North Korean issues, including the launches, with US President Joe Biden during his visit next month. On the other hand, both Russia and South Korea pledged to continue close cooperation for the peace process of the Korean Peninsula.
The special emphasis on the importance of efforts to maintain peaceful and stable situation in Northeast Asia, including the Korean Peninsula. This means all related countries need to abandon arms race and escalation of military activities of any form. I express deep concern over North Korea's launch of what happened to be short-range ballistic missiles, while our government is making various efforts to pursue over fulfillment of complete denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula.
Responding to North Korea's missile test, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying called for peace and stability in the region.
Maintaining peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula and resolving issues through dialogue and consultation conform to the common interest of all parties concerned, as well as the general expectations of the international community.
North Korea has not tested a nuclear weapon or its longest-range intercontinental ballistic missile since 2017. The tests on Thursday were the first ballistic missile tests by North Korea in nearly a year, and the first reported since US President Joe Biden took office in January. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said that while he could see the benefits of COVID-19 vaccine certificates for international travel, moral complexities may mean they can't be used for entry to domestic hospitality venues. On Wednesday, Johnson suggested some pubs might require customers to produce vaccine documents, an idea that he had previously deemed unlikely. During a visit to a West London nursery the next day, Johnson said the government would say more on the subject in the future. Amid ongoing tensions with the European Union on vaccine supplies, Johnson said he was on the side of openness and did not want to see restrictions on the exchange of vaccines with the EU. The EU has tightened its oversight of coronavirus vaccine exports on Wednesday, giving it greater scope to block shipments to countries with higher inoculation rates such as Britain, or which are not sharing doses they produce. Okay, this is a big one that the world is watching as well. A container ship blocking the Suez Canal like a beached whale may take weeks to free. That's what a salvage company has said, as officials stopped all ships entering the channel in a new setback for global trade. The 400-meter Ever Given, almost as long as the Empire State Building is high, is blocking transit in both directions through one of the world's busiest shipping channels for oil and grain and other trade linking Asia and Europe. The Suez Canal Authority, that's the SCA, has said 8 tugs were working to move the vessel, which got stuck diagonally across a single-lane southern stretch of the canal on Tuesday morning amid high winds and a dust storm. Now, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi held talks with Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan as part of a working visit to capital Ankara, whilst Uyghur Muslims staged protests in both cities against the treatment of their ethnic kin in the far western Chinese region of Xinjiang. Beijing approved an extradition treaty between the two nations in December, and with a deal awaiting ratification by Ankara's parliament, activists among some 40,000 Uyghurs living in Turkey have stepped up efforts to highlight their plight. The Turkish Foreign Ministry said regional and international issues as well as bilateral relations will be discussed during Wang's visit. He is scheduled to meet Turkish President Erdogan at 1100 GMT. Uyghurs' worries have been fueled by Ankara's dependence on China for COVID-19 vaccines until now, having received 15 million doses from Sinovac Biotech and ordered tens of millions more. This week, Turkey received 1.4 million doses of the vaccine developed by Germany's BioNTech, the first significant batch of non-Chinese vaccines. Around 300 demonstrators gathered in Istanbul, chanting "Dictator China" and "Stop Uyghur Genocide," closed the camps, while a small group protested near Chinese embassy in Ankara. Well, sports now, and the Olympic torch relay set off from Fukushima, beginning a 4-month countdown to the Summer Games in Tokyo, delayed from 2020 and the first ever organized during a global pandemic. About 10,000 runners will carry the torch across Japan's 47 prefectures and far-flung islands, starting from the site of the 2011 quake and tsunami that killed about 20,000 people and sent tons of thousands fleeing radioactive plumes. The first section of the relay did not have spectators to prevent large crowds, and roadside onlookers elsewhere must wear masks and socially distance as Japan battles the deadly virus and scrambles to vaccinate its people. The starting ceremony, originally planned for thousands of fans as a celebration of Japan's recovery, was closed to the public. And at home, after convincing 66-run victory in the first ODI, confident Virat and company would like to continue their dominance against England and take an unassailable 2-0 lead in the ODI series. On the other hand, the 2019 World Cup champions' pride will be at stake as well when they face India at the same venue on, well, basically tomorrow, which is on Friday.
England
with a mixed bag. The comprehensive 66-run win was a confident booster, but injury to Shreyas Iyer and Rohit Sharma complicated matter. However, this will be a chance for Suryakumar Yadav to make an impact after a wonderful T20 debut against England. Shreyas Iyer's injury is a crushing blow for Team India. In India's middle order, he has become a reliable batsman who can take the innings forward if the top order fails. In Suryakumar Yadav, India will get a different batsman who does not take time to settle down. Rather, he unsettles bowler from the get-to-go, swinging the match in the favour of his team. It was evident during his performance against England on his T20 debut. He began his international batting career pulling Jofra Archer for a mammoth 6. His illusion will also give Virat Kohli the option to promote KL Rahul to opening the innings alongside Shikhar Dhawan, in case Rohit Sharma is unavailable due to elbow injury. Fifth T20 international after the string of a poor performance was back at his best, scoring a 43-ball 62 on Tuesday. As for ODI debutant Krunal Pandya, he will retain his place as well after a fantastic 58-run knock. Amongst other, Hardik Pandya will keep his place, but Kuldeep Yadav, having hammered by England's batsmen in first ODI for 68 runs in 9 overs, may make a way for Yuzvendra Chahal. The leg spinner has hit a rough patch as wickets have dried up. Amongst the pacer, Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Shardul Thakur will continue to lead India's attack. As for the third pacer, with 4 wickets for 58 runs on his debut, Prasidh Krishnan created a record that Kohli or team management cannot overlook. While he was expensive, his wicket will help him to retain his place for the second match of the ODI series. Sports Desk, DD India.
Now, Asia's largest tulip garden opened for the general public and tourists from Srinagar in Jammu and Kashmir. The tulip garden has over 15 lakh flowers of more than 64 varieties of tulips in full bloom. Prime Minister Modi in a tweet had appealed to people to visit Jammu and Kashmir and visit Asia's largest tulip garden. The tulip garden was closed last year for visitors amid the coronavirus pandemic. And on that cheerful note, we have to close Newsnight for tonight, but do join us tomorrow at the same time as well, right here on DD India for all your daily updates. Thanks for watching.